Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's August 30th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this is going to wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays. Tomorrow is the last day of the month, and then we go into the Labor Day holiday. So no trading on Monday. So I won't be back. Actually, this will be an extended weekend. We'll be back until Tuesday for the next chart lesson. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope you enjoy. I like these long weekends and get a chance to get a break from it. When you're new to trading, you hate to. I can remember I used to hate these holidays because I wanted to trade, but um, generally it needs to become boring and more like a job before you really start to settle down with your nerves and so forth and become good at this. So just keep that in mind. Always use those holidays. Take a break. Definitely don't do any live trading. If you want to try to sim trade, you can, but generally it's just a waste of your time because there's not much movement. Um, it looked like today was just going to be another one of those flat days, and then we get this huge sell-off, which doesn't surprise me because we rallied yesterday, and generally you're going to come back around 2,900 multiple times before you move on, and you can see we closed right around 29. Looks like we closed at 2901.54 today. So back down there near 2100. And I had at least two people text me and say they couldn't trade this. They were didn't look like anything was going to happen. And that's the way this market is. And as soon as you walk away, you get this huge downtrend. So you just never know. But that's why sometimes we just sit here and wait and see what happens. But pretty good trading day. There were a couple of great opportunities to get in this downtrend. After that, there wasn't much really to it. Before that, you just had to trade the trading range. And notice that once we dropped lower here, I just measured the first part of the range where we had most of your touches from the top and the bottom. And then you look for a measured move. You can see that's pretty much where we went to. We went a tick or so further than that and then bounced. Went right back up and tested these highs up here and turned back down, and this time we went right on through the lows and continued lower before we bounced a little bit at the close. So um, several opportunities today, but I'll back out here. We'll talk about the trades and we'll wrap up the week and we'll start our long weekend. First trade I saw today was a short right here. We were kind of moving up through here on this at the 7 o'clock hour. There's a possible long here. I was not crazy about it simply because it's right into these highs. You might could argue for it because it is a failed second entry short, and it did push through the EMA first, so we had a break outside. We didn't have a new low yet. This was really tempting for a short as well. But when it had those three matching lows right there, I'm probably not going to go short there either. And I'm not real crazy about that long. You could argue for it. It does kind of fit the criteria. So, and we do get a repeat pattern of that almost perfectly right here. It's very similar. Notice how we were kind of stuck and then we pushed through and pulled back and went higher. So there is a repeat pattern of that at some point. So something to consider. But this was really the first good trade. Notice we got all those highs across there. And we break higher and failed. It actually went higher and turns and goes out the other side. You could have a sell stop one tick below that bar. You could just put one in right below that bar. It actually gapped over, but it backed up, so you could even drop a limit order at the bottom here, maybe a tick back in, whatever, and see if you could get filled, which you could have, and then it drops on down. Of course, you bounce down here. We're not down to, previously I would have had this down here. I moved it up later as the prices were tending to move higher. The range, where it was bouncing was moving a little bit higher, in other words. So, but I had it here at this point, and I didn't really think it was wise to go short right there, right into those lows. So, I didn't mark that one. And then we're just kind of getting stuck here. There is a failed first entry long, second entry. So there was a failed second entry long right there. Again, you're right into these lows, and you might have moved this all the way up to here by then. You would have had to adjust it down again, but that's where all your closes are. So if you look at that with a line there, you can see how that's just a little congestion area, and it's just not wise to be going to enter in that in either direction. So I just kind of sit still. If anything, it'd be a failed break higher, and you just really never get a signal bar for that. Then it turns out it's a failed break lower, and it bounces right off those lows there. Again, you're probably better off to wait on the higher low. This is a real small bar, maybe 3 ticks, and it kind of gapped over. So you would have had time to get long in it if you wanted, but you're almost always better to wait on the higher low, or if you're coming off the high, the lower low. And so I like this one here. This was the better place to enter. You got a new high there. It's also a second entry long, and nice bullish bar. And you'd expect prices to go. At this point, you might have been looking for them to come back to here, but they just kind of turned down right across that level. I ended up adjusting this to where you had the most closes and touches, and it tends to be there. So I ended up moving this one up to there. But another great short right there, and it's a real small bar. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high. You might could look at this as being a lower high from here, but you've had a good bit of opportunity to see the resistance right there. But it's probably safe to wait. And then you're moving down, first entry, pull back second entry, and you make another double bottom there, another small bar right off the lows, and we bounce there just about every time. That's the place to go long. There is a failed second entry short here with enough room to ride it out back to the top. So you might go long right there. By the time it gets here, you're running out of room. So I'm not crazy about this one, because this really needs to be your signal bar here. And if you tried to use a limit order after it broke above this bar, you wouldn't have got filled. It just runs to the top, and then you get a double test of this level. A little failed break above this last swing, a nice bearish bar, and that's pretty much, notice your low, you're moving up, and there's 2 legs up there, so that's basically a second entry short as well. Takes it a few minutes to work out, and then it bounces. You don't want to go long back into those highs. And you get a lower high here, but this is really your signal bar, and not a very good one. And this one's kind of right back into the support resistance, right back into the EMA, and notice how it bounces. But when it tries to go higher that third time and fails, when it broke below that bar, I'd go short right there. And then, of course, you're moving down, and you get a first entry long, but so there's a fairly decent short right there. This is really your signal bar, so it's not a very good setup. That's only 3 ticks, but it's right into these lows, and you just bounced off of it. But when it pushes through, pulls back, gives you a failed second entry long, and it breaks higher and turns and goes down, I like going short there. And you could even just go short below that bar. That's really the third confirmation of that trend line. The way I've got it drawn, it doesn't quite touch it, but it's probably just a little steeper than that. It's close enough. And especially since it just came off the high and it hadn't reached the low yet. And this thing runs all the way down a measured move. And that's where I would look for it to go to. That'd be my first target. We don't have a break of this yet, so I don't like going long there, even though we're a little ways away from the EMA. You get a higher low here that breaks lower and turns up. It's right back into the EMA, right back into these 2-bar matching high, and then we just continue to get resistance across there. So you don't want to be going long in there. And then finally you get a little break higher, and you might have wanted to treat that like a little failed break higher, but we're really making higher lows here. So, and we just had a measured move. So it's possible we may push higher. So I just sit tight, and when you get that, notice this is basically a double bottom. So first entry, second entry, and that's a nice bullish bar. And we did push through the EMA and pull back right there. And so I like that one to go long. Off it goes. And you really made a new low there. Push up, and this kind of comes back to the trend line fairly close to the EMA. With it being that steep, that's probably as close as you're going to get back until it starts to go sideways. It really turns down again. I'm not crazy about that one. It's not a true, there's not really two true legs up yet. Um, but you got to figure we're probably headed back to test the highs again, and you got plenty of room. Everything's back above the EMA. If you drew this trend line along off the top and drag it down, it's working out perfectly. So you may take that one. I'm not crazy about it. And then of course you get back up in here to the highs and it just starts going sideways. You do get a close outside and a couple of swings up to a new high and then a lower high here. And this actually broke higher and turned and went out the other side again. Big bearish bar. I don't know if I would have used a sell stop below this bar because there's a lot of support across there. But when this closed way down here through the EMA, I don't have a problem letting it break lower there and dropping a limit order a tick or so back, or even just using a sell stop right there because we're probably headed back down again. And then we pull back and make the fail. We actually push through the EMA, pull back, test it with a failed second entry long. Nice bearish bar. Just go short right there, and off it goes. Get another little pull back here, but it's right into this previous support. It does push through, and you get another turn down here, but not a very good setup. And then, of course, you got a break now, a new low. You go higher. And you get a lower high right here with a fairly bullish bar, and you got a little room to get out right there. So you might consider that one, especially if you let it break higher and got a little bit better entry with a limit order. You want to have enough room to get out before you get back to this EMA. And luckily, if you did go long right there, it really didn't make it on those two bars, but you wouldn't have got stopped out either, and it goes higher. And there's a failed second entry short right there, but we hadn't pushed through the EMA. You got a lot of sideways there, a doji. I don't think you can go long there. So just, you do get a close outside what looks like the trend line there as well. And it pushes up, pulls back, and makes a lower high right here. This is technically your signal bar. But I don't have a problem going short below this bar. Your stop still has to go up here, or even letting it break below that bar and dropping a limit order in here. And you could have gotten filled a tick or two back in that, and that would have taken you into 2 o'clock. And that turns out to be a pretty nice move down, actually. But I just didn't, when you get down in here and you're just kind of chopping around, there's just not a lot of good entries right in there. Your better entries were earlier in the day. And trying to catch this. If you just catch one of these moves down, they catch runners here, and you can ride that all the way down. So, and if you caught one of these, you could add a nice runner. So, and then that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. There's one more little turn up with a failed second entry long. It's down here into this support. So again, I'm not crazy about it. You could argue for it. We'll make it green. Being that close to 2 o'clock, I'm not going to go short right into that support across there. And just to make it real clear, if you draw your line, if you draw it right there, it's really a breakout pullback short. But this was what I was worried about. That's really where your lows or most of your bounces were, and you can see that's right into it. So it's just not a great setup. It's not it's not one that you completely say, hey, I'm not going to take it either. It's, if you're wanting to be aggressive. But it was mostly sideways to downhill today. We were sideways really, and I would have called it sideways really. Even in here, we were just coming back to the top of the range. So until maybe about a little after 1 o'clock is where it really and most of your trading day is gone there. So I would say most of the day was sideways. But that's pretty much it for today. So I don't see anything else here really worth discussing. It's a pretty straightforward day, except that when you just, by the time you're ready to give up and say, hey, it's going to be just a sideways market, you get this huge sell-off and off it goes. So, um, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to start my weekend. I'll probably come in for a little bit on Friday. I might just see what's happening. I may trade an hour or so. But a lot of times those previous Fridays, sometimes you'll get some movement. A lot of times people are all start their weekend early, and you may not have much going on. So we'll just have to see. But I'll probably come in for an hour or two. I'll definitely do the mid-morning report, and but I probably won't be around much after. I'll definitely be gone by lunchtime. So start my holiday weekend a little bit early. So I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again next Tuesday, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.